Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023. I was taking a ride. Go ahead, pull up the slide, please. And as you can see to the right, it says, "Welcome to Carbon County." Okay, back to me, please. So this trail took me into the southern region of Carbon County, which, of course, is home to our Panther Creek waste coal reclamation facility. It got me thinking quite a bit about Carbon County, a place that I know very well, a place that I have lived in, a place that I consider to be home. And it really got me thinking about some of the different environmental concerns that have been raised with regard to Panther Creek. Most recently, as it relates to the potential use of about 15% of the fuel mix being tire-derived fuels, TDFs. And the concern that has raised amongst some regarding, air quality, the impact to air quality in the region, in the area. As I've said before, I care very deeply about the local environment. I don't want to be out on a bike ride breathing in a bunch of toxic fumes. I don't know who would want to go on a bike ride under those circumstances. By the same token, I also think it's important that there be a balance, right? A balance between, hey, can there be clean air, or at least cleaner air, right? And can there also be economic prosperity? Can we have a situation where Panther Creek continues to employ between 50 or 60 individuals, right? Successfully employing those individuals, while at the same time, can we have an actual business that generates useful revenue? One of the fascinating, in a strange way, sort of like arguments that have been made against Panther Creek specifically, is that it's like this profitable, highly lucrative waste coal reclamation facility, which is seeking to simply pad its profits even further by burning tires, tire-derived fuel. I have scoured Stronghold Digital Mining's financial statements for quite some time now, and I am as surprised as you might be to hear that somehow Panther Creek is this wildly lucrative, operation. To the best of my understanding, we were barely, meaning Stronghold Digital Mining as a whole, was barely a cash flow positive operation in 2022 during the height of, a really, really brutal crypto winter. We were barely cash flow positive. The reason we were cash flow positive, from my perspective, is that during Winter Storm Elliott, Panther Creek and Scrubgrass stopped mining Bitcoin, and instead, all that electricity that was being generated went to the grid. Detractors will indicate, and I literally just read this, that all the electricity that is used, right, or that's created rather, by the Scrubgrass Waste Coal Reclamation Facility and the Panther Creek Waste Coal Reclamation Facility, that 100% of that electricity is used to mine Bitcoin, and that none of it ever kind of goes back into the grid or to benefit the local community. So I don't live in Nesquehoning. I do, however, live within the PP&L zone of the PJM grid, of which Panther Creek is a part of. We know this isn't, guessing or, hey, I'm speculating here. This is like fact, right? Both Scrubgrass and Panther Creek during Winter Storm Elliott were devoting 100% of their electricity to the grid. No Bitcoin was being mined. As a result of that, Panther Creek in particular played a role, albeit perhaps a small role, but nonetheless a constructive, meaningful, measurable role in stabilizing, helping to stabilize the overall PJM grid, and more specifically, the PP&L zone within the grid where I happen to live today. And of course, that also includes a place like Nesquehoning and other communities within Carbon County. So this idea that none of the electricity ever flows into the grid is wrong. I'm picking on Winter Storm Elliott as a glaring example of that, but there are numerous other instances where it makes sense to sell electricity to the grid, right? To provide power to the grid, which helps everybody in the local community. When it comes to this question of, hey, is this just a matter of, I apologize for the barking if you hear that. That's kind of what this is, though, right? There's a lot of barking sometimes within, environmental justice communities. And, like, hey, I'll be the first to bark about a lot of things as well, because you know what? There are some real harms out there that need to be addressed. But the way to go about it isn't to make an argument that, hey, Panther Creek is this, wildly lucrative operation. Hey, we're a belly, sort of like belly flopping into Olympic-sized swimming pools full of money, right? That's not the case. I mean, this year, 2023, Stronghold Digital Mining has yet to be cash flow positive. In Q1 2023, we were not cash flow positive. In Q2 2023, we were not cash flow positive. Here we are in Q3, right? Almost at the very end of Q3 2023. Are we going to be cash flow positive? I don't know. But this idea that somehow, Panther Creek specifically is attempting to harm the local community while making all these profits, right? And I don't know, it's not factually true. And the idea that like no benefits flow to the community, again, I think that's false as well. Because I mean, look, as I've alluded to before, the people who work at Panther Creek do not arrive via a space shuttle from some other planet, some other universe, right? And then at the conclusion of their shift, they just vanish into the universe again. These are people who overwhelmingly live, right, and work right there in the local community, basically. These jobs are decent jobs. They're good jobs, and so is there room for improvement? Hey, could there come a point where if to the extent Panther Creek is allowed to utilize tire-derived fuels, will there be a point in time where certain enhanced additional emissions controls can be put into place, right? To make any sort of emissions even better? I would hope so, right? I would hope so. I've yet to see any evidence that suggests that Stronghold Digital Mining is opposed to doing that. But I mean, again, there has to be a balance. There are rules in place, right? There are standards in place as to what are permissible emissions. To the extent the plan that's being proposed by Panther Creek, right, meets those rules, well then, I mean, fair is fair, right? You can't just, single out Panther Creek and say you can't have, any access to TDFs, right, tire-derived fuels, while further down on that same bike path, that same bike trail that I was on today, I mean, I've passed by, I guess they're like cement facilities, and you look up at the smokestack and you see some darker colored stuff coming out of that. Is that tire-derived fuel? I know that a lot of cement operations utilize TDFs here in the local area. So, hey, I mean, again, there has to be a balance here. But that was what was going through my mind. It's funny how that works, right? You're sort of like on what should be a very relaxing and enjoyable bike ride, which this was, by the way, it really was. But when you're enjoying nature and you're admiring just, everything around you, again, the environmentalist in me, which again, I've said this before, I'm very much an environmentalist, I start thinking about the environment and I start thinking, hey, what are some practical, balanced ways to help preserve and protect this wonderful resource? Well, and again, this isn't like a hypothetical resource that I'm referring to, like that's on the internet. This is a place I go to. This is a place I enjoy, and many other people do as well. So I'm like 1,000% committed to the idea of environmental justice. I truly, truly am. But there has to be some truth, and there has to be some balance, and there has to be, I think, some degree of understanding, right? That we cannot shut down industry. Because remember, what I said before was, if the rule now is going to be, hey, there are no TDFs allowed anywhere in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, then great, I'll support that as long as it's a statewide ban. Okay, no more TDFs anywhere within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. But what I will not support is, a very selectively enforced set of rules that say, okay, hey, we're going to let TDFs exist here, there, that other place. Yeah, that's all great. Oh, Panther Creek, because of some involvement with Bitcoin, we're just going to say no. I find that to be arbitrary, and I find that to be inappropriate if that were to be the standard that's applied to Panther Creek. So, okay, we've got one more day tomorrow, right, wherein we may potentially hear something with regard to where Stronghold Digital Mining is going to co-locate roughly 25 megawatts of end-to-end data center equipment. I'm sensing, again, I'm happy to be wrong about this, but I'm somehow sensing we're not going to hear something tomorrow. I don't know, I'm just guessing this, but I just get the impression that during the Q2 2023 investor presentation, Matt did mention, hey, at the end of Q3 or, at the very beginning sort of Q4. So I'm inclined to think this is a bit of a complicated thing. There are a lot of data centers available, right, where you could just take your equipment. Say we've got, let's imagine we had like 10,000 Bitcoin mining machines. Yeah, we could probably go up to Berwick, I don't want to get too technical here, but basically there's a nuclear power plant up in Luzerne County. They've built this magnificent data center. TerraWolf, which is another publicly traded Bitcoin mining company, they have a bit of a joint venture, I understand, with the power plant. So they've got like a bit of a data center, but then there's this other data center that's just open to really anybody who needs access to a data center. See, if we had just nothing but Bitcoin mining equipment, then maybe a place like that would make perfect sense. The thing is, we've got data center equipment, which does create a little bit of a nuance because we're not just looking for somewhere to plug in Bitcoin mining machines. We're looking for somewhere to basically plug in transformers and an entire data center infrastructure. So I'm not saying that makes it harder, but it's just a little bit different, right, than saying, hey, there's plenty of data center availability here, there, the other place. Remember, we already have our data center equipment. We're not looking for data center equipment. We're looking for a place to put our data center equipment. So we'll see what happens. If anything comes out tomorrow, I'll be on top of that right away. But if not, then more than likely, of course, sometime early in Q4 2023. Okay. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Let's stay positive. Let's be great. And we'll see each other again tomorrow.